Trump is obviously outraged over what happened in Colorado and the voting process there. He's taken to Twitter to express that outrage. Sent a tweet last night, the people of Colorado had their vote taken away from them by phony politicians. Biggest story in politics, this will not be allowed. Of course, the problem is that it is absolutely allowed under the rules of the Colorado Republican Convention. It's not direct voting like I just reported. It's not caucuses like I just reported. They held a big convention. They came together. The delegates decided, and that was that. Those were the rules. This is not some new change, nothing last minute, but a voting process that's been in the books since August. The complaints from the Donald Trump camp did not begin until Ted Cruz began winning Colorado's delegates. Ed O'Keefe is a politics reporter for the Washington Post and is live with us from the Washington Post newsroom in, well, where else but Washington. He has people believing this, Ed, because I got emails from people this morning, mails that came over the weekend saying, they've stolen this from Donald Trump. This will not stand. We will rebel. It's just not true.
Yeah, the guy that's late to the party here is Donald Trump, as you pointed out. These are rules that have been in place since last year. And simply put, his team just wasn't ready. 56 states and territories participate in the Republican nominating process. Each of them gets to set their rules however they want. You can hold a primary, you can hold a caucus, or you can do like Colorado did and hold a convention. And over the course of the last few months, at the precinct, the county, the congressional district level, they've been meeting to sort out who would go and vote this weekend in Colorado Springs. They met. And trust me, I was there for more than 12 hours. They met, and eventually they coughed up 34 delegates that will vote for Ted Cruz, who for the past year has been organizing. His team has been memorizing and mastering these rules, used them to their advantage, and pulled it off big time out in the Centennial State.
Ted Cruz, Donald Trump is supposed to have a new guy who's not new to anybody, who's an old hand at this matter, who was going to right this ship, and yet they couldn't spell people's names right, and they got their corresponding numbers wrong for how for them.
Right.
Are they in over their head, or what's your observation?
Well, let's give Paul Manafort a pass on this first weekend of his new job, because this was all happening before he got there. But he did make the comment to my colleague Dan Baltz that by the end of next weekend, when Wyoming meets to do something almost exactly the same way that Colorado did it, he says after that we'll have our act together. So really we have to wait one more week to see if the Trump campaign is able to start making sure that people who support Donald Trump will sit in delegate seats for them, not only to vote for him on the first round, but more critically perhaps, Shep, who they will vote for in the second round and later rounds if Mr. Trump isn't able to nail it in that first vote. That is really where the game is at this point. Not only, you may be bound to a certain number of delegates, but when the rules change in your state that allow you to do whatever you want in the later round, is that person still going to be voting for Donald Trump, or will they be voting for somebody else? That's what this process will be like over the next few months, is checking with those people and seeing who, in the end, they will ultimately support.
There are a number of things that historically you, quote, cannot do, unquote, in the course of a campaign, and we've learned that a lot of those rules, or we have new rules on those matters. And most recently we learned that you can talk about Gestapo tactics and the Nazis about just about anything you want. How has that flown? Do you guys have a handle on that?
It didn't go over very well with the Cruz supporters in Colorado, who said there was nothing resembling Gestapo tactics that worked there, and we've heard it in other states as well. It's simply that we better understand the rules of the Republican National Committee that have been in place for more than a year, and the Trump team simply doesn't. I just got off the phone a little while ago with a guy out in Colorado who said, look, I was in meetings with the Cruz team preparing for this for over a year. There was never any intimidation. There was merely studying the rules, figuring out how to persuade people to vote for our guy, and it worked. One other thing that's at play here in some of these states, Shep, a lot of these dyed-in-the-wool, regular, everyday folks who show up to Republican state conventions, they simply don't like Donald Trump. They don't think he's Republican enough. They don't think he's conservative enough. So they're going to vote for someone who they think is. And in most cases, that guy's Ted Cruz.
Ed O'Keefe from the Washington Post, live from D.C. Thank you.